This site we purchased in 2002 because it was a natural extension of lands that we already had leading westward to other lands that are under public management. So it was situated in an ecological context that made sense for us. It's also located between two major water bodies, Amazon Diversion Channel to our west and the main channel of Amazon Creek to our east. And so there's a lot of water on the site, which makes it really suitable for doing wetland restoration. We have expanded our vision and our goals to what we're hoping to achieve. And so we are now building out from our wetland system and trying to make the important connections through the upland prairie system, up into the oak savanna and oak woodlands, and up into the ridgeline system. So now instead of just talking about the wetlands, we are talking about a whole connected regional ecosystem that goes from the lowlands that include creeks, rivers, and wetlands, all the way up through the prairies, savannas, into our ridgeline system. The site was an agricultural production for annual ryegrass for many years. And because of that, it was important for us to first understand what are the dynamics of an annual ryegrass field. And one of the key things that really drove our whole approach was that an annual ryegrass field has an infinite supply of seed in the seed bank of that one species. And so what we have learned both through our own research and through talking with farmers is that if you disturb the soil in your site prep on an annual ryegrass field, you're just going to be battling annual ryegrass for a long, long time. So our whole guiding approach was, for site prep, was to do it in a way that did not disturb the soil. We actually had a multi-year phased approach in how we did the site prep. The first was to mow the whole site and hay it to get all the biomass off the site. So that happened in the fall of year one. Then in year two, we came in with a glyphosate-based herbicide in the spring to kill all the ryegrass that was germinating from the seed bank. And then when the fall rains came and additional flush of seeds from the seed bank germinated, we used a glyphosate-based herbicide again. At the same time, during that summer, we removed the agricultural drainage ditches that were on the site just by plowing a narrow band where those ditches were to make the surface more or less a flat surface. In the fall of year two, then, we planted only forbs on the site. We planted probably a mix of 30 to 40 species of flowering plants only. We didn't plant any grasses. One of the things that's been very limiting on wet prairie restoration sites is having space for forbs, which the forbs make up the vast majority of the native plant community, but most restoration projects that you'll see have very few of them. And so we wanted to get the forbs established first, get them established in a high density and a high diversity before we tried to sow any grasses.
One of the things that we really focus on in our planting mixes is trying to make sure there's a diversity of species that cover a whole variety of niches. In the early spring, we'll come out and do an assessment of the weeds, and we'll map them, we'll walk the entire site. Then we'll bring in one of two different kinds of crews to deal with the weeds. We either have a large hand weeding crew, a 10-person crew of fairly skilled contractors who know a lot of the plants. We also have contractors who will come through with backpack herbicide applications for other species that are more difficult to pull out by hand. Another really key thing that we've learned is to be really careful with your borders. And they're often very significant seed sources and weeds that move in from adjacent properties. So we are starting to create buffer zones, and those are often really aggressive native grass buffer zones to try and keep the non-native species from moving in on the borders of our properties.